Number 10, Michael Myers. Imagine how terrifying it is to face a serial killer who cannot be killed. The story all began in 1963 when 6-year-old Michael, hidden behind a clown mask, brutally murdered his sister, Judith. After the crime, he was locked away in Smith's Grove Sanitarium, where he remained silent for 15 years. No one knew what was going on inside his mind. Then, on Halloween night in 1978, he escaped and returned to his hometown of Haddonfield. There, Michael returned to his true nature, stalking and killing more teenagers, most famously Laurie Strode, who became his lifelong target throughout the series and was later revealed to be his sister. What makes Michael so terrifying isn't just his mask or his silence, but his refusal to die. He survives bullets, stabbings, and even fire. Later films reveal the Curse of Thorn, an ancient druidic mark granting him superhuman strength and near immortality while driving him to kill his own bloodline. Whether by curse or by nature, Michael Myers isn't just a man, he's the Shape, a relentless force of evil that never stops coming. Number 9, Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees is the infamous killer from Friday the 13th. Always masked and silent, his muteness stems not from choice like Michael Myers, but from childhood trauma. In 1957, Jason drowned at Camp Crystal Lake after being thrown into the water by bullies while the counselors neglected their duties. His mother, Pamela Voorhees, took bloody revenge in the first film. But after her death, Jason became the main killer. He haunts the lake and surrounding woods, targeting teenagers and young adults, punishing those who trespass as vengeance for his own drowning and his mother's fate. Jason Voorhees' powers include superhuman strength to crush skulls, regeneration that makes him nearly unkillable, and immortality, as he can resurrect even after being blown apart or killed by conventional means. Add in endless stamina, survival against extreme conditions, and his eerie teleporting ambushes. He first gained his powers from an accidental lightning strike that revived him as an undead revenant with supernatural abilities. Over the series, his powers evolve with each death and resurrection. All of this makes Jason become every camper's worst nightmare. Number 8, Freddy Krueger. Imagine a killer you can't run from because he waits for you in your dreams. That's the idea of Freddy Krueger. In the original story, he was once a sadistic child murderer in Springwood, but was burned alive by the parents of his victims. However, death only made him stronger. He returned with a burned face, a striped sweater, and his iconic glove of razor-sharp blades, becoming the nightmare killer of Elm Street. Freddy is truly terrifying because of his control over the dream world. He can twist reality, shapeshift into anything, and turn his victims' fears into deadly weapons. In dreams, Freddy is nearly unstoppable, mocking and tormenting his prey before killing them, feeding off their fear to grow even stronger. The only way to avoid him is to never sleep. But everyone has to sleep eventually. Like other fictional killers, Freddy is also immortal. As long as he's remembered and feared, he always comes back, resurrected through nightmares themselves. But unlike his silent counterparts, Freddy talks, taunts, and plays with his victims, turning murder into a cruel game. Number 7, Ghostface. If someone asks you, what's your favorite scary movie? Be careful because it might be the killer in the ghost mask on the other end. Ghostface first appeared in 1996's Scream. He isn't one person, but an identity worn by different killers. The mask was inspired by Edvard Munch's The Scream painting, which hides the face of ordinary people turned murderers, making Ghostface unpredictable, because anyone could be behind the mask. What makes Ghostface terrifying isn't superhuman strength or immortality, but his cunning. He stalks his victims, taunts them with trivia about horror films, and uses their own fears against them. His phone calls, laced with humor and menace, turn a simple conversation into a game of survival. And unlike Michael or Jason, Ghostface is clumsy and human, but that only adds to the suspense, because he could be anyone close to you. Over the years, multiple killers have taken up the Ghostface mantle, from Billy Loomis and Stu Masher in the original film to copycats in every sequel. Each time, the mask returns with fresh motives: revenge, fame, or obsession, keeping audiences guessing who the killer really is until the final reveal. Number 6, Chucky. Chucky is the infamous doll from Child's Play. He isn't just a doll, but a murderer reborn. The story began in 1988 when serial killer Charles Lee Ray, mortally wounded and cornered by police, used a voodoo ritual to transfer his soul into a good guy doll. What looked like an innocent toy became a vessel for pure evil, now armed with the mind and voice of a murderer. Small, sneaky, and underestimated, he uses his size to his advantage, hiding in shadows, slipping into homes, and striking when least expected. Chucky relishes taunting his victims with his foul mouthed humor and sadistic glee, making every murder feel like a cruel joke. Over the years, Chucky evolves from a simple slasher into something more twisted. He discovers new voodoo powers, raises havoc with his equally murderous bride Tiffany, and even fathers a child. Yet no matter how many times he's burned, shot, or blown apart, Chucky always finds a way to return. Number 5, Leatherface. Leatherface is the iconic serial killer from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, the killer who wears the faces of his victims and wields a chainsaw that never stops screaming. Back in 1974, a group of friends unknowingly entered the home of a cannibalistic family known as the Sawyers. Among them was Leatherface, the silent, hulking butcher whose skin masks hide both his face and his humanity. Behind each mask is a different personality, sometimes childlike, sometimes monstrous, but always murderous. Unlike other horror icons, Leatherface doesn't kill for revenge or pleasure. He kills because that's all he knows. Raised in madness, fed by fear, and controlled by his family, he's a product of pure depravity and isolation. His chainsaw isn't just a weapon, it's an extension of his rage, cutting through bone and sanity alike. What makes Leatherface so terrifying isn't just his brutality, but his realism. There's no curse, no supernatural power, just a man molded by horror itself. Inspired by the real-life crimes of Ed Gein, his story blurs the line between fiction and reality, reminding us that true monsters don't always come from nightmares, they come from our own world. Number 4, Jigsaw.
I want to play a game.
Those words alone are enough to send chills down your spine. Jigsaw isn't your typical killer. He doesn't murder his victims directly. Instead, he traps them in deadly games designed to test their will to live. Jigsaw was once an ordinary man named John Kramer, who was a civil engineer who turned to darkness after a failed suicide attempt and a terminal cancer diagnosis. Convinced that people took life for granted, he decided to help them appreciate it through pain, sacrifice, and blood. Every trap, every puzzle is carefully designed to punish moral flaws, greed, abuse, deceit. The only escape is through self-inflicted suffering. Jigsaw believes he's not a murderer, just a teacher, forcing his victims to confront the value of their own existence. Jigsaw's true horror doesn't come from brute force, but from his twisted philosophy. He's calm, methodical, and convinced he's doing good. His legacy continues even after his death, carried out by apprentices who believe in his vision. Because Jigsaw's real weapon is belief itself. Number 3, Pennywise. Pennywise the dancing clown is the terrifying creature from Stephen King's IT. But behind the clown is something far older and darker. Pennywise is just one form of an ancient cosmic entity known as It, a being of pure evil that crashed to Earth millions of years ago and made its home beneath the town of Derry, Maine. Every 27 years, IT awakens from its slumber to feed, mostly on children, because their fear is easier to manipulate and tastes stronger. Pennywise's true power lies in fear itself. It can shapeshift into whatever terrifies its victims most, twisting their minds and using their worst nightmares against them. From grotesque monsters to loved ones turned horrifying, IT knows exactly how to break a person before devouring them. It also has psychic abilities, including telepathy, illusions, and mind control, allowing it to influence and corrupt others, even making the entire town of Derry ignore its crimes. Physically, IT is nearly impossible to kill, since the clown form is only a projection of its true self. Its real form exists in another dimension known as the Macroverse. Though defeated multiple times by the Losers Club, Pennywise represents something that never truly dies. Fear itself, waiting to return every generation. Number 2, Sam. Sam, short for Sam Hain, is the mysterious childlike figure from Trick or Treat and the physical embodiment of Halloween itself. He appears as a small trick-or-treater in orange pajamas with a burlap sack covering his head, carrying a pumpkin-shaped lollipop. But behind that innocent look hides something ancient and vengeful. Sam's purpose is to enforce the rules of Halloween. He appears whenever someone disrespects the traditions, blowing out a jack-o'-lantern before midnight, refusing to give candy, or ignoring the spirit of the holiday. Those who break the rules face his deadly punishment. Beneath the mask, Sam's true form is horrifying. His head resembles a rotting pumpkin, symbolizing the spirit of Halloween's harvest and death. He's nearly invincible, able to reattach severed limbs and rise again no matter what's done to him. What makes Sam terrifying isn't just his power, but what he represents. The dark side of tradition, the reminder that Halloween isn't just for fun, but a night when the dead and the living share the same streets and those who disrespect it pay the price. Number 1, Candyman. Say his name 5 times in the mirror and he will appear. Candyman isn't just a ghost, he's a legend born from pain, vengeance, and injustice. His story begins in the 19th century when Daniel Robitaille, a talented African-American artist, fell in love with a white woman. When their forbidden affair was discovered, he was brutally tortured, his hand severed, his body smeared with honey, and left to die from bee stings. His spirit, consumed by rage, lived on as the Candyman. Now he haunts those who summon him, appearing behind them with his hook hand and a swarm of bees buzzing in the air. He kills not just out of malice, but to keep his legend alive, because as long as people fear him and say his name, he exists. Candyman's power comes from belief itself. He isn't bound by flesh, but by stories, whispers, and fear passed from one generation to the next. Every retelling, every dare in front of a mirror gives him life again. He isn't scary because of his hook or his haunting presence. It's the idea that legends never die. They live on through us, through the stories we tell, and the names we dare to speak.